Hotep, I am the Amen Osiris, the one and only undisputed God of law. We are Deception Stoppers, America's only 4D education service. Thank God I'm not a lawyer. Thank God this is not a law firm. We don't advocate that you don't support your human offspring. We simply advocate that you made them in private, take care of them in private. And today, brothers and sisters, I'm going to teach you and prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the 4D agency, number one, it's not a state agency. It's a federal agency that operates in the state. It's a business that profits from customers. It only applies to non-custodial pay rents and a couple other things you will learn here today. I'm going to go a little bit in depth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please do not take my word for it. Any statute that you see on here or any definition that you see on here, please make sure that you look it up and confirm it is true. I don't care who's telling you what. Never take nobody's word for it. All right? So, number one, we're going to talk about the federal 4D customer service. Now, for those of you who are not aware, and you're going to learn in this video, there is no such thing as child support. It never existed, okay? Now, what you call child support is found under Title 40D of the Social Security Act, which is a federal statute. And that is under authorization of appropriations for the purpose of what? That's supposed to be creating, locating, then enforcing 40 obligations owed by what? Non-custodial pay rents. Okay. Title 4D of the United States Codes, which you call child support, only applies to non-custodial pay rents. All right. That non-custodial pay rent has to be created. How is it created? All right. It is created under 42 USC 666 A3C. All right. Notice of the non-custodial pay rent social security number and home address, which is going to include a zip code. This is why I tell you not to accept mail, shall be furnished to the 4D agency enforcing the order. Now, you'll notice I have the word order stricken out. And you'll notice in here, you'll see the word child support stricken out because it does not exist. It never did. The non-custodial pay rent, gentlemen and ladies, is identified by a social security number. All right, right here, the non-custodial pay rent social security number. 20 CFR 422-103D clearly says the 4D, the social security number is the property of the SSA. This renders the non-custodial pay rent property as in ownership. And because it's owned, it has no rights. This is how they were able to circumvent the Constitution. Remember, as a man, you have rights inherent, which you're born with, and inalienable rights, which are guaranteed under the Constitution. All right? As a non-custodial pay rent, remember the Constitution only applies to what? Human beings. Title 4D only applies to what? The ens legis, the artificial person. That's the only thing that these people can deal with. All right, moving on. So, second, the 4D program is a private business for profit. Now, look at the codes, gentlemen and ladies. 28 USC 3002-15A, United States means a federal corporation, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or an instrumentality of the United States. So any department or instrumentality of the United States is a corporation. That's it. Now, if you go to the website The Federal Office about the Office of Child Support Services. This is the Federal Office of Child Support's website. It clearly states that the Federal Office of Child Support Services is the federal agency that oversees, which means supervise, the National 4D program. You see the word child support stricken out. There is no such thing as a child support program. You will learn that here in a minute. It is the 4D program. If you read the glossary of common child support terms provided by the federal government, defines the 4D program as a federal-state partnership established under Title 4D of the Act. Okay? Under the Federal Manual, Section 8, page 47, it clearly states, however, every federal agency is responsible for responding to a 4D program as if the federal agency were a what? In red, private business. This partnership renders the 4D program an association of two or more persons as co-owners of a business for profit. All right? The 4D agency, gentlemen, that operates in the state is not a state agency. All right, I'll show you that here in a minute. All right, this private business profits from customers. Okay, again, states still make a profit on the 4D program. Federal Manual Child Support, page 41. All right, if you look at communicating with our customers, the Federal Administration for Children and Families, all right, you will see nothing but the word customer and customer service right here. It is also efficient and improves customer service. We certainly don't want to burden our customers. All right. Our communications expert packages information for various customers. Who are the customers? Mom and dads. Everything OCSS publishes goes through the internal clearance process to make sure it's clear, accurate, and what? Relevant to our who? Customers. Our customer service team works with parents. Who is the customer? Mom and dads or parents. Our team provides program information and helps parents, which are customers, which are moms and dads. Okay? So we work closely with our customer service contacts at the state. Get that? At the state. Okay? Better serve our customers. Most customers, all right, parents or customers. Enforcement actions are taken against what? Non-custodial parents. All right. Again, you'll see the child support program here, it's stricken out. And you also see it has the word partners, right? A couple of times. If you go back up, a partnership is an association of two or more persons as co-owners of a business for profit. So, Walmart's a business for profit. Arby's, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, those are businesses for profit. Can you be compelled to be a customer of those businesses for profit? So how's the 4D crime family get going? All right, now we're going to get into it is not a state agency. We're going to look at some definitions. Okay? I don't care what you think you know, gentlemen. If you don't know these definitions, there is no guessing when it comes to either federal or state law. You must know what it says. 45 CFR 301.1 definitions. All right. Department means the Department of Health and Human Services. That is the United States Department of Health and Human Services, gentlemen. Right? Oop, my bad. All right. If you go back, the United States Department of Health and Human Services is what? It's a department of the corporate United States, which makes it a corporation. Man. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, so director means the director, Office of Child Support Enforcement, who is the secretary's designee to administer the child support enforcement program under Title 4D. Again, there is no such thing as a child support enforcement program. It is called a Title 4D program. All right. The director, the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement, is Linda Boyer. If you go on the website, you'll see her. She has the big growth on her lip. Okay. The secretary is a Kennedy. All right. Another definition: office means the Office of Child Support Services, which is the what? Separate, alone detached and disconnected organizational unit within what? The United States Department of Health and Human Services, with the responsibility for the administration of the 4D program under this title. Secretary means the Secretary of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. Now, let me show. Oh man, let me show you how this works. Hold on. Okay, hit the button by accident. So we now know that the 4D agency, the 4D crime family, is a business for profit. It's a business that profits from customers. Now, here's how it gets started. If you're going to open a business, you're going to want what? You're going to need to have a business plan. Now, it's called the state plan, but we know better. All right. It's a 45 CFR 301.10 business plan. This plan is a comprehensive statement submitted by the 4D crime boss, describing the nature and scope of its program and giving assurance that it will be administered in conformity with the specific requirements stipulated in Title 4D, its regulations, and other applicable issuances of what? The United States Department of Health and Human Services. The plan contains information necessary for the federal OCSS to determine whether the plan can be approved as a basis for federal funding from the 4D program. Number one, the 4D program, its nature is what? Contractual. Its scope is what? Non-custodial pay rents. If you're going to go and hunt for something, usually most people use a scope. Once you get that target in your scope, pop. So the non-custodial pay rent, which is property, is the scope. The nature is financial because it says, all right, that plan determines whether or not they get financial participation. All right. Hope you're getting that. The other thing is, number one, the 4D agency that operates in the state, check this out. It is assuring, right? Look, giving assurance to the United States Department of Health and Human Services and the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement, right, which is in fact foreign to any state, all right, that 4D will be operated under its requirements. This leaves out the Constitution. This renders Title 4D contractual, not constitutional. Remember, Title 4D is contractual in nature, which means if it's contractual, it is commercial. You don't go into a contract unless you're going to make some money. All right? So, the 4D agency is not a state agency, gentlemen. Okay? And ladies. All right? Go to the definitions. Again, 45 CFR 301.1 provides that 4D agency means the single and separate organizational unit in the state. It's in the state. Like you get in your car, you get in the bathtub, you put your wallet in your pocket, you put your money in your wallet. Preposition, meaning it is surrounded in or surrounded by something. All right, it's not a state agency. Okay, because it submitted a business plan giving assurance to the United States Department of Health and Human Services and the federal OCSS that it will be running compliance with that with Title 4D. All right, this right here, all right, in compliance with you give these people assurance. They gave the federal government assurance. They didn't give the state assurance. Okay, by giving it assurance, under Title 4D of the Act, which is federal law, not state law. All right, it is now an instrumentality of the federal government. All right, so the 4D agency means the alone, detached, and disconnected organizational unit in the state that has responsibility for administering or supervising the administration of the 4D plan under Title 4D. Title 4D was never enacted into positive law, gentlemen, which they're openly admitting that they're operating under color of law, color of authority, and color of office. By submission of the 4D plan and giving assurance that it will be administered in conformity with the specific requirements stipulated in Title 4D, its regulations, and other applicable issuances of the United States Department of Human Services, renders the 4D agency a 28 USC 300215C instrumentality of the what? Corporate United States. It's a business. It is not a state agency. Okay? The 4D agency therefore fails to meet the 42 USC 46013 term state agency, which means any department, agency, or instrumentality of a state. The 4D agency answers to the federal government. It doesn't answer to the state. So therefore, it's not an instrumentality of the state or a political subdivision of the state. Any department, it is not a department of the state. It is an or instrumentality of two or more states, more political subdivisions, or states, and any person who has the authority to acquire property by eminent domain. The 4D agency is a business for profit. It cannot acquire property by eminent domain, and it has no authority to do so. Okay? Simple stuff, gentlemen. You're sitting here thinking, if you're thinking that you're under a court order to pay and what they're doing is legal, you're dead wrong. You might as well replace the 4D agency with Walmart or Netflix or Hulu or DoorDash or Uber Eats. It's the same shit. Child support never existed. Title 4D was not intended to benefit individual children in custodial pay rents, and therefore it does not constitute a federal right, far from creating an individual entitlement to services. Thus, the Secretary of the United States Department of Human Services, not the state, must look to the aggregate services provided by the state, not to whether the needs of any particular person have been satisfied. Now, it says services provided by the state. Okay? The state is not providing any services. The 4D agency in the state is providing the services. You can find this at Blessing versus Freestone, and these are all this is Blessing versus Freestone, United States Supreme Court, and these are all the other courts that follow that precedence. Okay? No such thing as child support. So if Title 4D, and you notice they never said child support, and if you read into it, all right, like under 301, it says the 4D agency. There's no definition whatsoever of a child support agency or a child support program. The United States Supreme Court was clear. It says Title 4D was not intended to benefit individual children and custodial parents. So why are they calling it child support? Okay. In New Jersey, they have enforcement of litigants' rights, but the custodial pay rent doesn't have a federal right to child support. So what rights are they enforcing? Also, if a woman or a man decides that they want to go on welfare and they have children, they must, it is a federal rule, they must assign their right to obtain child support to the 4D, to the 4A agency. That's welfare. Okay? How can you assign a right that you don't have? All right? There's no intent, look, far from creating an individual entitlement to services. All right? Not to whether the needs of any particular person have been satisfied. Why are they calling it child support? How can you be held in contempt of a court that doesn't exist for failure to pay what kind of support? It ain't child support. All right? Another case law. Hunt versus Ledbetter, right here. Title 4D does not create enforceable rights on behalf of needy families with children because they are not the intended beneficiaries of the statute. Again, all right, 11th Circuit. That's a part that holds Georgia and Florida. All right, but it doesn't exist. Title 4D does not create enforceable rights on behalf of needy families and children. So why are they enforcing litigants' rights? You can't enforce a right that doesn't exist. The court pointed out to the legislative history, that's the United States Congress, that Title 4D was intended to benefit what? The public treasury and the taxpayer by reducing the present future welfare rules. Okay, so the governments were created to be a benefit, security, and protection of the rights of the people, not taxpayers or the public treasury. Okay, the custodial pay rents and the children are not, and will never be the intended beneficiaries of the statute. And you're sitting here talking about, oh man, she put you on child support. She didn't put you on nothing. You put yourself on child support by being ignorant. Okay? Title 4D, under Title 4D of the Act, it has a purpose. Its purpose is to create, it must create non-custodial pay rents. All right. Once it creates the non-custodial pay rent, let me tell you how that happens. The woman or the man goes down and they must apply for Title 4D services. Stop calling it child support because that does not exist. When they apply for these 4D services, they put the man's name that they know on that documentation, right? If by chance she knows the social security number that the man is holding to obtain a bank account, a job, and other different shit that is, the mark of the beast, all right, then she puts it on that form. Now what they do is they create the non-custodial, that creates the non-custodial pay rent, okay? And in actuality, if you go back, I'll take that back. What creates the non-custodial pay rent is the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity or voluntarily giving your DNA, okay? That's what creates the non-custodial pay rent. Once they create it, all right, once she informs, then they got to locate it. And then once they locate it, they enforce obligations owed by it. I'm the Ahmed Osiris, folks. Okay? The 4D agency that operates in your state is not a state agency. Can you sue them? Yes, you can. Can you sue a man or a woman who's pretending or impersonating a judge? Yes, you can. And that will be my next video. All right? Get your game up. If you need me, contact me at hathorsec@gmail.com. I'll leave it in here. All right, if you have an issue, we will help you. Pay attention to what's going on. This right here, it's only 3 pages. All right, we could do this with our eyes closed, our eyes blindfolded. This is basically what Title 4D is. It's a business for profit. And guess what? If it's a business for profit, the First Amendment guarantees you the right to associate, the right to not associate under the freedom of assembly. You have the right to associate with Walmart. You have the right to not associate with Walmart. You have the right to be a customer of 7-Eleven. You have the right to not be a customer of 7-Eleven. You have the right to spend your money at Macy's, right? You have the right to not spend your money at Macy's. So how is a federal corporation, an instrumentality of a federal corporation that operates in every state and every county as a business for profit, compelling you to be a customer, right? And ripping you of your freedom of association and your freedom and your decision to decide what business you're going to spend in Federal Reserve notes and you're with and what business you're not. Contact me, folks. We got something for that ass. Enjoy your day, and we really, really, really look forward to hearing from you. All right? I'm going to say it like my boy on the Terminator. All right? Contact me if you want to live. Hotel.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.